Hey guys, American Trucker here. Just want to make a quick video. I say quick video, so some of my videos are kind of long, so I'm trying to keep this one at a reasonable time. So I've got a couple of notes over here I wrote down, but I'm not going to elaborate too much and drag this out. So first thing I want to talk about was I guess for whatever reason there's some people that make comments on my videos and I can't see them in the actual video comments, but everything gets forwarded to my Yahoo account, my email account, and I can see all the comments there. So usually if somebody makes a comment, I got different videos, and what I do is I go to the Yahoo account first, and then I click on that. I can see what they wrote, and then I can click on the actual video that they wrote it on from there, instead of trying to search through every single video on YouTube every time someone makes a comment. So somebody has a YouTube channel, that's probably, elementary to them. They know that's how it works, or at least I'm sure that's how it works for everybody else as well. But if you don't make YouTube videos, all the comments go into my email. I see them there, and then I click on the video and comment back. For whatever reason, I can't comment back in my email. So there's a guy named 10 Count Stories who made a comment about having reception in the caves on my last video about the caves, maybe one or two videos ago, I'm not sure. And for whatever reason, when I go to that video to try to reply to his comment, it's not there. So I don't know. I don't have anybody blocked or anything, but there's some people that are, for whatever reason, their comments come through on the videos and some that don't. I'm not sure why. So if somebody does know why that's happening, please leave a comment below. If you have a YouTube channel, or you just know in general why that happens, and I'll try to get that fixed. But so I'll just reply to him here. So 10 Count Stories, that's his name, or that's his YouTube name or whatever. He said can't see. No, I'm sorry, that's me. He said something about he could never get reception in the caves, and that's the storage facility I talked about like I said, a video or two ago. If you didn't watch it, there's these caves in Missouri. They're underground caves, and they have storage facilities there, and we go pick up and deliver there sometimes, or at least pick up anyways. And when you go in those caves, as soon as you go, it's underground, so as soon as you go in there, you have zero reception. And he said he watched the video and said he couldn't understand how I had reception. He never had reception in those caves. Well, I didn't have reception, and I don't know what your technical level is. Mine's not high by no means, trust me. There's guys on here that have professional videos on YouTube and stuff. I don't edit anything. What you see is what you get. One day I'll get into the editing part and do all that stuff, but right now it's just, I just make the video, and then however it comes out is however it comes out. But I didn't have any reception there. You don't have to have any reception to record a video on your phone. That's all I have is a phone. I don't have a GoPro or anything yet. So for right now I just use my phone, but you can record anywhere without any kind of internet capability. And then when you get somewhere where you have reception, then you can upload it. So that's what I did. I made the video while I was in the cave, and it just had it on the video was just on my phone. And then when I came out the next day or that evening or whatever, then I uploaded it once I had reception. So that's how that works. All right, moving on. The blender. So if you watch the blender debacle, or whatever you want to call it, when I made this, was attempting to make the smoothie and put all that stuff in it, and then I went to plug it in and it didn't work. It was because my inverter was not big enough. So if you're coming to Prime, or you're a truck driver in general, if you already are, you probably know this. If you're not, there's different size inverters. So basically the inverter is your plug-ins that is directly connected to your batteries on your truck, and that's what runs, and you plug it into this inverter, and that's what runs your refrigerator, microwave, anything electrical that you plug in. Well, there's different size inverters. So if you're just doing the basic, like this one came with a 1500 watt inverter, and it runs my refrigerator, which is a pretty good size refrigerator. I got it from Lowe's, and the microwave. The microwave is the smallest microwave they make. I wouldn't recommend that. The smallest one they make at Lowe's, I don't even know the wattage, but it basically takes at least 2 times as long as whatever the package says if you're microwaving something. So if it says it takes 1 minute, and it takes me at least 2 minutes minimum, if not 3, because the microwave is just not that powerful. But it runs fine off of the 1500 watt inverter along with the refrigerator as well. I can run both of those at the same time. But this blender I had, even though it says on the box it was 1000 watt is what it needed, and the inverter I have is 1500 watts. Well, I would think, hang on, you would think that would be plenty enough, obviously, because 1500 watts is more than 1000. And I tried it and it didn't work. I even unplugged the refrigerator, microwave. There was nothing else plugged in, and it still didn't work. And I was trying to figure out what the problem was initially in the video. Couldn't figure it out, so I cut the video. And then after the video, I went straight inside Prime Terminal. Sorry, allergies are kicking. I'm up here up north, so I don't know if it's just smoke or what from the wildfires in Canada, if you've been watching the news here lately, but my allergies been bothering me all day since I've been up here. But anyways, it didn't have enough power. I went in Prime Terminal after I cut that video, plugged it into the regular wall socket, and it worked perfect. So I'm 99% sure that even though it's 1500 watt inverter and it only calls for 1000, that I just need a little bit more power to run that blender. So I have a 2000 or 2500, at least a 2000 watt inverter at my house. So next time I go home, it's not hard to really change out. I changed it out in the first one. That's why I bought that 2000 watt inverter on my very first year at Prime when I was leasing, and then just swapped it back out once I turned the lease truck back in. And then this one that I bought from Pedigree Sales, which is one of Prime's trucks, it came also with a 1500 watt inverter installed already in it. So I've been using that, and I haven't needed any more power until I've got that blender. So now I'll probably go back and swap out the inverters, and just to make sure I have enough power to run the blender. Anyways, so that is that. What I really wanted to talk about is, and if you don't want to hear this, fine, I would cut the video here. But if you do, by all means, pause it now, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment on those two things I've already talked about, or not, either way. But so the thing I really want to talk about was, I was in Planet Fitness today. Actually, I was in the parking lot today, and I was walking into Planet Fitness, and I got about halfway from my truck to the gym, and some guy asked me if I had jumper cables. So I do have jumper cables. Matter of fact, I got really long jumper cables. If you're coming to Prime, or if you're doing reefer and you don't have them, then you're messing up. And here's the reason why. If your reefer goes out, and it definitely will if the battery gets low, and it's done it to me about a month ago, I got to a receiver. It didn't need, the refrigerator had to be working at this receiver for them to accept the load. So when he came out to inspect the truck or the trailer before I could drop it off, he had me attempt to turn on the reefer just to make sure it cut on, it was worked and there was no issues. And because I was swapping out trailers, and I went to go cut it on, and it just wouldn't, it was just clicking, it wasn't firing up. So the battery died, basically, is what it did. So, but the jumper cables I have are long enough to go from the battery underneath the driver's side door all the way back to the battery on the reefer unit, and I was able to jump start it that way, and at least get it running and show them that it did work, and then we kind of worked it out from there. But I let it charge for a little bit, and then had to go back to the gate, and then verify that I could cut it off and cut it back on without having to jump start it. So the battery was just low, needed to recharge. I guess it works like a regular vehicle, where the generator, oh gosh, what's the thing that charges the battery on a vehicle? Alternator. I'm assuming it works like an alternator, where it keeps charging the battery back up if it starts getting low when it's running. So I ran it for a little bit, came back through, and it worked fine. But anyways, if you're jumping your truck off for whatever reason, you definitely need some long jumper cables. And if you're in the reefer game, then you want them long enough to go from your battery all the way back to your reefer. I think mine are like 15-foot cables. I don't know how long they are, but 12, 15 foot maybe, something like that. Anyways, I got sidetracked and here this video is starting to get long already. So back to what I was saying before I got sidetracked. I was walking into Planet Fitness. Guy asked me for jumper cables, and what this guy was, and he's probably going to watch this video, but, and I hope he does, because here's and I talked to him for a little bit, but he was 25 years old. He was in a minivan. It was all rusted out, wasn't very good, and his battery was dead, and he was actually there working out, which was good, but he was definitely down on his luck. And I hate to say the word luck, because that means you're depending on things around you to happen for you. So I almost don't like using that word, but that's just the best way I can describe it. He was in a good situation in life, and I don't know his exact situation. I did talk to him for a few minutes, but he's 25 years old. From our conversation, no wife, no kids, and currently no job, and a very bleak outlook on life. And I said, hey man, I got some jumper cables, I'll get you started. And that was the start of the conversation. And I said, you know, his van was only about 20 yards from my truck. So I said, let me help you push your van over close to my truck where the cables will be long enough, and then we'll get you jump started from there. And the only reason why I spent a little bit of time talking to this young man was when I said that, he said no, I can do it. And I was like, you sure, man? I mean, it was a level service for the most part, but it went uphill just a little bit before it got to my truck. And one person's trying to steer back, push a minivan, on level surface is really not that bad, but I knew he was going to have a little bit of trouble once he got close to my truck. So I was like, man, let me help you, man. It goes up a little bit. I'll go get the cables, come back, get them ready, and then I'll come back and help him. He's like, no, I can get it. And I thought, okay, he's going to push it 10 feet, if that, and then it's just going to be too hard for him, and I'll help him. So I figured he would wait for me anyways. I started going back to the truck, and then I got to the truck, opened up the side box, started getting my cables out, and looked back, and he's already got it halfway back to my truck. Just pushing with everything he has, right? I offered to help him, but what sparked my interest was the fact that I felt like hope wasn't completely gone for him. Some people get pretty hopeless sometimes, but just the fact that he didn't want me to help him, he didn't ask for money, he didn't ask for anything. He just wanted, well, he did ask for a jump, but nothing, he didn't want nothing tangible. He just wanted some jumper cables so he can, go on. And the fact that he knew in his mind that he was still capable of doing something himself without, he didn't want me help pushing him. I don't know if I even make sense saying that, but he had something left in him that I recognized that said that if he wanted something done, he could do it himself, which is a good quality in my opinion, because you start depending on other people and you'll be let down a lot in life. Nobody's going to be your best. Nobody's going to be a better advocate for yourself than yourself. I don't care. I'm talking about mom, dads, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, friends, best friends, all that stuff. At the end of the day, nobody should be able to. Nobody is really capable, I don't think, if you really think about it, putting forth more effort for you than yourself. And I know there's plenty of parents out there, brothers, sisters, friends, that go to the, in their minds, they'll go to the end of the earth for their buddies, friends, kids, or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer nobody can try for you more than you. It's impossible. At the end of the day, they're going to get hungry, tired, whatever, and then they got to go break away and do something. They can't give you 110%. They can give you a lot. There's no way they could give more effort than you can for your situation. So anyways, we almost got back, and some guy was pulling in, and he pulled in kind of right in between us. He's about to park right there, and I just went to his window and I said, "Hey man, can you keep pulling forward just a little bit more? So this guy's trying to push his van over here so I can jump start his van." And he's like, "Oh, I got a jumper box or whatever it was." And so we kind of paused right there at the moment. That guy got out of his truck, pulled this little jumper box out. We went over there and jumped this young man's van off and got it started. And then that guy in the pickup truck that pulled up went on his way. So I didn't really have to get the jumper cables out and do that whole thing, but because some other guy pulled in and helped us. But that was my opportunity, I felt like. And I don't do this much, but for whatever reason, right place, right time, and I just felt compelled to do it, I guess. In my mind, 9 out of 10 people you talk to and try to motivate them or give them your best pitch about fixing themselves, it go in one ear and out the other. So most time, this is terrible, I guess, but I feel like a lot of times I probably have had opportunities in the past to try to talk to someone, and I probably pass them up because I've just figured that they probably ain't gonna listen. And I couldn't walk away from this guy, right, without at least giving him my best, motivational stump speech. And what I was getting at was, I needed to tell him that he's 25 years old. I asked him, like I said, "Do you have any wife?" "No." "Kids?" "No." "No job?" Nothing like that. And he just had nothing. I think he might have been living in his van. I didn't ask that question, but he had nothing going on. You could see it in his face. I mean, you could see that he was at... I felt like everybody has these, sometimes more than one in their life, but everybody has an inflection point in their life where they either, the old saying, I'm not gonna cuss because my mom might watch this, but you crap or get off the pot, right? And you know what the actual saying is. But at some point in time, people who start doing drugs, people who get into be alcoholics or whatever, it's people who get into not working and live in their mom's basement and they're 30 years old, downstairs playing in basement playing, video games and stuff. That's usually not just a flip of the switch. It's usually a small, tiny decision at some point in time in their life where they were at those inflection points, and then some kids choose one path and then some choose the other. It's usually based a lot off your surroundings, which direction you go, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and the problems get worse and worse. And I felt like this guy was at that point in his life. And here's what I didn't do, and here's what I have a problem. I don't know if it was my generation, the generation before me, or the generation right after me. I don't know. But I have a problem in our society right now with the whole everybody gets a trophy, participation trophy. I think that's ruining our country. No competitiveness, when you take away competing, right, that's something that builds people up. Disappointment and what people call failures in life, those are the points in life where you learn not having things handed to you, not getting a trophy when you suck, right? When you come in 5th place and you get a trophy, there's no incentive at that point. It's getting dark, so I don't know if you can see this light down here blinking, but that's the alarm light or whatever for the security. But anyways, if you finish fifth place and you get a trophy, what's the point of trying to get fourth? What's the point of trying to get better? Where did you learn that it's not okay to be mediocre and give it a mediocre effort next time, right? Or anytime. So that happens a lot in this society now. Another thing that happens is everybody likes to say, don't worry, it'll be okay. You know, don't feel down. Don't feel bad about your situation. You're a good person. You know, all this stuff. And I know some people's going to be like, well, that's the way it should be, right? Especially when you talk to your kids or anybody. Would you say that to your kid? Absolutely. Absolutely. You start telling your kids, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. It's not your fault. And guess what they will do? They will start depending on you and everybody else around them when things don't go well for that blessing, for that it's going to be okay. Social media is absolutely out of control with this, and if you're being honest, you know this. May even be you looking for approval from everybody else instead of doubling down and saying, you know, I'm in a bad situation in my life and I'm the only person that can do something about it. I'm the only person that can take charge of my situation. If you're in a bad situation, you're not good at something, you got goals or whatever, if you you know the old saying, if you continue doing the same thing but you think things are going to get better somehow, you got something's wrong with your brain, the way it's been molded, I guess, at that point. You got to break that mold. You can't sit there and think, you know what, things are just going to open up for me. Things are just going to happen, right? I'll just wake up tomorrow and, you know, maybe I'll have better luck. That's not the real world. That's a fantasy world that we've created as a society, and we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, right? We don't want to say, look, dude, you know, you're doing okay, you know, but you're working at McDonald's and you're 30 years old and there's nothing mentally wrong with you, right? I'm not saying there's anything mentally wrong with anybody working at McDonald's, but everybody has different capabilities. But if you know someone and you know them well enough and they're doing things, they're not living up to their potential, and you tell them that's okay, don't worry about it, you're a good person, you're doing them a disservice. That's just my opinion. You're definitely ain't building any kind of alpha males or females. You're not gonna teach anybody how to be a leader, how to take charge of their life by making excuses for them. They're gonna make enough excuses for themselves, and you adding to that is definitely, you're just reconfirming all the excuses they're making for themselves. You should ask them, hey, what's the problem, what's the situation? As soon as they start making excuses, if you care about this person, as soon as they start making excuses, you shut them down and you tell them, you're making excuses. Keep making excuses, keep doing the same thing, and stuff is not going to get better for you. Nobody's going to walk up to you tomorrow, this young man, nobody's going to walk up to you tomorrow, or anybody, and say, you know what, you just seem like a good person. Let me give you this $100,000 a year cush job. You don't have to do anything. Just, you know, I'm gonna bring it to you. I'm gonna walk up to you and just make life better for you. That's, who knows anybody that's happened to ever, right? So what I told this young man was, I got a little more into it with that, but at this point in time I done helped him, so he had no choice but to at least finish hearing me out. But I said, you scrape up every dime you have. I don't care what it is. If you got something, sell it. If you don't have anything now, you don't really have anything to lose, but you get just enough gas money. You know, if you can get a little more, great. But I don't care if you got to go hungry for the next 3 days. You get enough gas money. Don't eat if that's what it takes, and you drive your van to North Dakota or West Texas, and you go to the oil fields and go up to find one of those oil rigs. And I don't know much about it, so I can't, you know, say what the jargon is, but there's different types of jobs, and it's kind of like the military. There's like different levels. You start off like a private military, and you work your way up to different better paying jobs or whatever. But you walk up to whoever the boss is, and you tell them, like, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to work. The mistake is some people, they get on Craigslist or they find an ad on social media somewhere, and they just call them up and ask them about a job. That's not how it works from what I know about people that I've actually worked in the oil field. When they're extremely desperate, that might work. But what they're going to do is they're going to say, come over here and we'll talk about it. So there's not even no point in doing that. You could try that if you wanted to, but if you really want to change your life, this young man in particular, or anybody, but if he really wanted to change his life, I tell him, go to the oil fields in North Dakota, preferably, because those are the jobs that pay more, but those are the jobs that nobody wants to be there year round. They want to be there during the summer, and then they take off as soon as it starts to get cold because it gets miserable up there. But you walk up to the boss and you say, look, I don't even know if you're hiring right now, but hire me. I'm ready to work. I got my boots on. I have nothing to lose. I'm here, and I'm going to be here when everybody else leaves, and I'll outwork any single person that you have on this oil rig. And he may laugh, but you tell him, hey, just give me a chance, give me a try, and then December, January, and February, when everybody else is gone, there's only a few of us here, I'll be the last man standing. And I promise you, somebody in the oil field in North Dakota will hire you. Now, it's a lot easier to walk up and do that in the middle of the winter, but you can't wait for stuff to happen. You got to go there. If it's right now in the middle of summer, maybe a little bit harder, but desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Don't go down to McDonald's or Walmart or Food City or Meijer or whatever they have around here, and that's, if that's not your potential, if that's not the best you can do, those jobs are always going to be there. You go and you're in a desperate situation, you don't have anything, then you don't have nothing to lose. You go there, and guess what? If it don't work out, you go to the next oil rig. And if it don't work out, you go to the next oil rig. There's many of them. You keep going, and you don't stop. You don't give up. I know that sounds cliche, but nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody. There's nobody. This dude, if you're 25 years old and you don't have nothing going on, if nobody's helping you right now, do you expect someone to start helping you? And do you really want them to help you? What are you going to learn if someone gives you a handout, right? Somebody continues to give you food, or however you're getting food, or whatever the case may be. Are you ever going to better your situation? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So that's for anybody. It don't matter if I told them you could go to Prime. I said, if you have a good driving record, you call the recruiter and let them worry about that part, but you apply for it. You don't have to have a penny to come to Prime to get your CDL, because that's one of the things he said, well, I don't have a CDL. If I did want to do truck driving, I said, you don't have to. You come to Prime with no money. They will feed you. They will house you. They will help you get your CDL. As long as you meet all the requirements, you pass the drug test, and, your driving record's good enough for them to accept you, and everything else as well, and they bring you in, you can come there with $0 in your pocket and be fed, be housed, get a CDL, and then you can worry about paying them back, whether you do a year for them. As far as I know, you can do a year from them, then everybody's even, or if you quit driving for them before a year, then there's prorated payback as far as getting your CDL or whatever. But what other option do you have? Like I said, if you're sitting at home or wherever you're at and you don't have anything else, what other option do you have? What else is going to happen in your life out of thin air that's going to improve your life? I mean, nothing. So you don't learn when anything gets handed to you or in life. You learn through your failures, right? And a failure is just a setback. It's not even a complete failure, but any failure is really just a setback. You learn from it and you go back, and then you have another setback and you learn from it and you go back, and you keep doing that over and over. But you keep making excuses, or you keep letting everybody else tell you it's going to be okay, you're fine, whatever. They're lying to you, and you're letting them lie to you, and you don't have the gumption enough to say, I don't want to hear that, and I'm not going to lie to myself either. I'm just going to do something about it. And then when you have a success, you build on that. But what you don't do, again, this is just my opinion, but if you have a success, it don't matter what it is, You go to bed that night feeling good about whatever small little success you had, and you wake up the next morning and you forget about it. Every day is a new day. You have a little success, at least at the minimum, every single day. But you can't worry, you can't sit there and pat yourself on the back about the success you had yesterday. So the only person that's going to take charge of your life is you. It's not going to be someone else just walking up out of the blue and making life easy for you for no reason. That's not how it works out here. It's just 2023. That's just not how it works. You know, as parents, we all want our kids to do better, and that's kind of some things that happened was over the last 20-30 years or whenever, I'm not sure, we wanted our kids to have a better life than we had growing up. So we smoothed the road out a little bit. We paved the way, and it just got more and more out of hand. We did more and more for our kids. At some point in time, we were doing too much. We wouldn't letting them fall on their face and get up and try again. We were coddling them, and we were putting, you know, helmets on them and knee pads and shin pads, and, you know, wrapping them in bubble wrap or whatever, and they learned nothing. Right? The maturity of what they learned, or, you know, their maturity in life at, you know, 20 years old was, you know, the same maturity that a 12-year-old had back in the 1950s, when they had chores and they were disciplined and they were held accountable for their actions. And, you know, back whenever they got in trouble at school and the parent didn't automatically run up to the school without even really knowing the situation and just start chewing out the teachers and the principals and all that stuff, right? That's definitely not how it happened with me. Whenever I was a kid, I tried to hide it from my parents when I got in trouble at school, because I knew they weren't going to run up there and defend me. I was going to get in trouble at school, probably get paddled, and more than likely get whipped at my house right off the bat, and then they would go to school and figure out what happened or why I did whatever I did. I knew I did wrong, right? But if I thought I could just tell my parents, you know, every time I got in trouble, you know, that blamed on everyone else, not take accountability and get away with it, I probably would have done that as a kid. But that wasn't tolerated from my parents. They knew better. They knew 99% of the time, if I did something at school, it wasn't a teacher picking on me or something like that. It was probably something I did, and I just don't want to admit it. So we got too far away from that, and that's just continued to snowball into excuses, into patting their kids and, you know, on the head, and then now we're reaping the results of all that, and we can see it kind of going on in society. All right, I don't even know if this video is going to upload because it's 33 minutes at the moment. So if it does, it'll probably take the whole night, so it might be tomorrow. Even if it does, if it's not, then I guess I just wasted 33 minutes because I don't know how to edit or cut videos. But that's fine. That's just the way it goes. Got on a soapbox and I get fired up, to be honest with you. I might not have I'm pretty stoic. I know I don't have a bunch of facial expressions, but I'm telling you, this wasted potential fires me up, and I wasted some potential when I was younger, and I didn't see it. I didn't have no one to grab a hold of me and tell me to wake up, quit being a crybaby about stuff, and push forward. And you know, so I know it happens, but at some point in time I did take charge of my life, but it's happening less and less, I believe. There's nobody, half people don't even have dads anymore in their household, or moms, whatever, living with, you know, maybe one dad, or maybe a mom, or maybe a grandparent or uncle, or you know, social media is raising them. It's out of control. So anyways, if you're watching this still, I congratulate you for sticking it out this long. But either you yourself, or talk to your kids, or whatever, my advice is, don't spare the rod. You know, they're saying spare the rod, spoil the child. Do not spare the rod. Do not take it easy on them. Tough love. Every once in a while, you give them a little pick-me-up, but you tell them, once they get through that, that's not going to happen often, right? you hold them accountable for their actions. Make sure they understand what that means. Make sure they understand what no excuses means, and make sure they understand you're doing it so they will learn from it, not to be mean to them or anything like that. That's the whole thing is, oh, you're being mean to the kids or all this, whatever. Everybody's worried about how I raise my kids or how you raise your kids. Well, most of the time the parents know the best how to raise your kids. It's not someone who doesn't know the kid. If you know your kid well and you know what pushes their buttons, you know what motivates them, you start at a young age and you teach them to compete, and not compete against that person, not compete as this person, not competing against anyone. You teach them to compete against themselves, right? If they gave 110% and they lost, then you need to tell them, well, hey, learn from it, figure out why you lost, and give 111% next time. Try a little harder and push them and push them and push them, and I promise you, in the long run, they'll be better off. As parents, all we want is a kid to grow up and be a productive member of society, in my opinion. But we got to set the example. Stop making excuses for them, and tough love. Got to get back to it. If we don't, we're going to lose this country for sure. All right, guys, like, subscribe. I'll try to get some smaller, some shorter videos. I know this one's extremely long. This is probably the longest video I've ever made. But guess what? I ain't apologizing for it. It is what it is. All right, guys, American Trucker, I'm out.